Ladies and gentlemen, we are live from the Isle of Man in the UK. This is John and Mike's MMA Corner.
And we are now joined with one of the top referees in MMA in the world, you could easily say now.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's now on the US stage.
He's even more international.
He's more international. Mr. Marc Goddard, who former fighter turned referee.
Which I think helps.
Which helps, obviously, in the sport. Now, Marc Goddard, thank you for joining us, first and foremost. Always nice to have you on. Being now that you're on stateside kind of soil with the refereeing, I just got to ask, it did take a bit of a while to get your licence put through, didn't it?
For Nevada, we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I refereed in the US years ago for the UFC, a long time ago, but yeah, Nevada was a bit arduous, but that's because it's, it is the fight capital of the world, Nevada, and, getting a license in that state is no, it's not to be sniffed at, and the fact that obviously, I'm not an American national and coming in from, overseas, and actually going through, and obviously things work differently there. It's not just a case of ticking a box, it's the legal side of things is, well, it's not existent in the UK at the moment, but the legal things over there are far more strenuous to go through. But like I said, without going on too much, is, getting a license in that state, when you look at everything that's gone down in that state, not just in MMA and boxing, the history and stuff everything that's gone on in that place, Las Vegas, like I said, it's a huge honour to be able to get a license, no matter how difficult it is to come by.
I was going to say, was that your reasoning for getting the license in Nevada?
Was it what, sorry?
Was that the reason why you got the license, the kind of history going into there with the kind of fight game that Vegas is known for?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's almost like, look, when people fight in MMA, like they want to get to the UFC, when people play football and then they want to play at Wembley, and like I said, I've been fortunate enough to referee around the world in many amazing places, amazing countries, but Las Vegas, like I said before, without being cliche, it is the fight capital of the world. No two ways about that. Not just for MMA, but for boxing too. And like I said, it's definitely very different, and none more so than the event that just went down. 189. I said before, I said it publicly as well, that it's the whole. People who've been to Vegas will obviously understand this more without being condescending. It's the whole environment, it's the whole build-up, it's everything that's there is very different. And in all my time in MMA, which has been a long time, the event that just went down at 189 was unbelievable. It's the best show that I've ever had the pleasure of being involved with.
Yeah, I was going to say, I went to, was it 187, was it?
Was Anthony Johnson?
Anthony Johnson against Danny Cormier. And to be honest with you, I didn't think it was that amazing, the card. I mean, on paper it was, but actually being there wasn't that amazing. And I chose between the two, and I picked that one. And I kind of kicked myself now, because when 189 all went off...
Let me tell you, mate, you bombed out on that one.
I don't make many mistakes, but I made one there. But
yes, the card in hindsight when it...
Honestly, sorry, mate, go on.
No, Mark, you go.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, with 189, it was that special. The whole, I was there for that 8 days before, because I look after the IMMAF Amateur World Championships, so I'm the head official for those guys, so I was looking after that side of it, and then obviously being there for the fight week, going to the expo, etc., and then obviously working the event at the end of the week, and just the whole build-up about it, it was immense. It was like, even though I've been to Vegas before, I've seen so many things go down there, but even I was like surprised. I was blown away by. The Irish support. It was phenomenal. It was, and I couldn't quite understand it really. You know, you got an American fighting in America, but that may as well have been Dublin.
Yeah, it did look like that. There was an awful lot of tricklers in the crowd.
I was on social media and on Twitter, and all you could keep seeing was reporters putting on their tweets saying, "Yep, it's 6 a.m. and all I can hear is ole, ole, ole."
The Irish fucking shut down the MGM. They shut it down on the weighing day. The fire marshals, the police, everybody had to turn up to lock the doors and regain order, crowd control. There was that, you know, all high-spirited, all friendly, you know, nothing untoward, but just that much of a party. It was just mayhem.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, you've got to pat Conor on the back for that. You know, it's whether you think he's going to. Personally, I think Frankie Edgar beats him, but whether you think he wins or loses or whatever, for a guy to bring that much fan base in such a short amount of time in the UFC is pretty incredible. Like, it's things we haven't seen since the Ricky Hatton days, like back in the boxing world.
I think it eclipsed Ricky Hatton, mate.
Yeah,
it eclipsed it because they didn't, you know. Ricky Hatton did he took amazing numbers over to, but Conor, he went above and beyond it, and just the whole, like I said, they shut down the fucking MGM. Do you understand?
Yeah.
On the weighing day, they shut down to be able to contain and control, you know, the sheer amount of people. It was extraordinary. And the thing with Conor, you know, I've known Conor a long time, and obviously watched him come up through the ranks and refereed him up through the ranks, and you know. And he is the one, you know, that it's undeniable that the guy's rise has been meteoric to say the least. But here's the point that a lot of people miss. When he signed the same piece of paper that everyone else did, right at the very beginning, you know, he signed his first contract the same as every other fighter going into the UFC.
Yeah. And
obviously he brought a whole different ball game along with it, the persona, the charisma, and it is a phenomenon what he's done. It's, you know, he is the biggest star they've got right now, I think, well, arguably between Rousey and him.
Yeah, he does have that kind of X factor to him in the sense of he can really isolate himself and stand out from the crowd. And like you said that you've refereed through his career, and obviously that's through Cage Warriors days and stuff as well. But being a referee, it's one of them jobs where you're either praised or you're slated. It is a literally.
To be honest with you, you don't even get a lot of praise, do you? Really?
Well,
you either don't get slated or you do get slated, which I think is a bit naughty. I think there should be a lot more praise.
No, referees get praised. I see them getting praised on social media. Listen,
let me tell you. Look, let me make no bones about it. As a referee, okay, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's that simple. All right?
Yeah.
And it's not a job for everyone. And I'm probably the most vocal in saying that because that's what pisses me off more than anything else. You know, I see guys that, look, I give more breaks and I've helped people. I want to help people. I was doing seminars before seminars were, you know, the norm and important, raising standards, the good thing, the right thing, all of those cliches to try and, bring referees on and bring the standard of officials on. And when it comes down to, officials getting critiqued, that's just the nature of the beast. It's par for the course, and if you can't handle it, you know, then you're definitely in the wrong job. And that's just it does get, you know, the more experience you get, the older you get, the higher profile you get. You just learn to roll with it because when it's good, and when I'm not going to say when it's bad because most of the time when people are saying it's bad, it's a perception of bad. 90% of the people don't know what they're fucking talking about anyway. And you've got to
everyone's an expert, aren't they?
You've got to be able to distinguish yourself between that and the reality of what you do. You know, you're in the firing line, and there's no other ifs, buts, or where's about it. It's the nature of the job.
And that's the thing. I was just curious about refereeing. It really kind of interests me in a sense of how do you figure out, for example, when it comes to like grappling on the ground or against the cage, you know, there's certain angles you have to stand to view, and with having experience fighting, is that something that's helped you? And obviously you do grapple, etc. Anyway, is that what's helped you actually improve that side of things?
Yeah, of course, and you know, look, like I said, I mean, you can open a can of worms. Not so much on a can of worms, but you know, I've answered the question a million times over many, many years. That you know, do you have to have been a former fighter to be a referee? The answer is no. Okay, because there are some fighters out there that you'd never want refereeing you. Put it that way.
Paul Harris would be a brilliant ref.
Oh, Jesus Christ, there he goes.
I believe he's got a bit of free time as well.
Yeah, but I heard, you know, obviously, like I've said to people, is the qualities you need as a referee are more important. And you know, do you have to have trained or understand? Absolutely, overwhelmingly, yes. You have to have, you know, a baseline level, at least a baseline level of understanding of one or more of the facets of the sport. And it's not, and again, I've seen it before, you know, with guys going, oh, I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt. You may well be a jiu-jitsu black belt, my friend, but you're struggling as a referee. It's not the be-all and end-all. You know, I keep trying to say that to people. You have to, when a fight's going on, you have to be able to read a fight. And you mentioned positioning, you know.
Yeah,
so many times it's like an unwritten. Look, you can't teach it. It either comes to you or it doesn't. If somebody's going to go from a sweep to a belly down armbar, or somebody's going to invert somebody, you need to know which way to go instinctively. If you have to start thinking about it, that's when mistakes will occur, and that's when you'll start second guessing. And you know, like I said, I've said to people before, when you referee, you're watching things in a peripheral sense. You're looking at everything, and it's like the grains of sand running through you. It's a natural flow, and you're just watching, essentially waiting and watching for a violation for you to step in. That's your job, you know.
Yeah.
And it's being able to read that, and it sounds pretty simple. And you know what? I've said it before on interviews. In principle, it is. It's just that people try and flower it up and dusty it up and make it more difficult than what it is.
I think the best example of that is going back to the very first UFC. They had some guy in there, and Hoist was armbarring. Was it Pat? What's his name? Anyway, and he just didn't have any idea what was going on. And the poor guy's getting armbarred to shit, and you know, God knows what's going on. And he's tapping away, and the referee's sort of watching it as if to say, like, well, he's not punching you. What do you want me to do? You know, and it was just like, oh, just ridiculous. But yeah, you know, but in those days, not many people knew what the hell was going on at all, did they? Let's be honest.
No.
But
long time ago.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's like I said, it's. The refereeing, because it does interest me in how the referee thinks during a fight. Because I sometimes, when we watch fights, we got to watch it as a fan, and you see some great fights. Like for example, like a crazy fight between Gilbert Melendez, Diego Sanchez, where they're just going toe to toe, fighting down the gum shield and swinging. Now, there's sometimes when you think to yourself, as a referee, I always think, sometimes referees just get a bit taken in by the moment and go, fuck me, this is a great fight.
And forget they're the ones
that are like, is that ever like, does that happen?
You get a sense of the occasion.
Yeah.
You can, like, it's funny because I remember one of the fights I refereed in Japan a couple of years ago was Brian Spann and Vanderlei Silva.
Yeah, good seat for that one.
Your reaction says it all, and that's kind of how I was feeling inside of them. You know, that was just all-out violence.
Yeah.
You know, that was a fight in its truest sense, and I'm watching that go down in front of me, and of course I get a sense of like, at one point I think I wanted to stand back and just start clapping, you know, but obviously you stay in the moment. Like I said to you, you're just on that. You're in another place, in a forgotten place, and you detach from everything, you know. And that's the problem with a lot of referees or a lot of would-be officials, is they can't detach. They do get caught watching. Big difference between refereeing a fight and watching a fight. You get caught watching a fight, you're going to get caught out.
Yeah.
But you do get a sense of, look, when great things happen in front of you, you get a sense and you understand it. But again, it's pushed away into the subconscious, because you're just, you know, concentrating on what you've got to do for that moment, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose you've got that point where, you know, when you, like, every fight card they say has an oh shit moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, now when we're watching an oh shit moment,
we can say it.
We can turn to each other and say, holy shit, did you see that? Whereas you've got to be reacting to that oh shit moment.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know.
Yeah, I've got to make an assessment on that.
Yeah, it's...
yeah, you've got to go and jump in and go, oh shit, leave him alone.
That's why I'm glad I'm not a ref. I can sit back and carry on saying oh shit.
And that's why I've actually thought that in the past. I went, I don't think I could do it. I don't think I could be a ref. I'm honest to myself saying I don't think I could ref, because I would sit there and watch and just watch. I'd just sit and go, I've got an awesome seat. It's great.
Yeah.
I would.
You want to stay in the crowd.
Yeah, I can admit that. I can actually say I could easily say I can never be a ref, and it's not because I just know I just get absorbed in the fights, because I love watching, and that's the problem. I know I just get sucked into it and just go, fucking hell, it's a good fight, and that's it's good that you can admit. I'm happy I can admit that.
And that's good that you do, you know, because look, and here's the thing: I say to people about being there's a magic word here, and it's not a magic word; it's just a real word, and it's called acceptance. Okay, and that's the thing, and you can attribute that to many things in life. And when I was fighting, I wanted to be the best fighter in the world. Was I good enough? No, I knew what, but I resigned myself into. You know, I mean, the way I get into refereeing is quite storied now, and you know, everybody knows. But it was then when I made a conscious decision. Yeah, I still train, I still compete, I still wrestle, jiu-jitsu, etc., etc. But as far as fighting goes, I stepped away from that, and I wanted to move into an area where I knew I would excel. And it's about having that acceptance, and you can attribute that to anything in your life. You know. There's a million things I'd love to be able to do. I'd love to be able to drive a Formula 1 car. I can't. I'd love to play professional football. I can't. I'm not good enough. Just understand the moment of, you know, or understand the direction of what it is you want to do. And I say to officials, to have an ambition, to have a goal, to have an end game, that's fantastic. You know, that's the same as fighters do. They want to get to the UFC, and officials want to get there, but you cannot... If it's not for you, you're going to find out quite quickly. And if it's not, admit it and move on. You know, I see guys go to pieces on small, local amateur shows, and you're trying to say to them, look, if you're standing in the other side of Brazil, Japan, America, you got 20,000 people, a fan favourite, hundreds of millions watching around the world, and that I can't explain the very real pressure that you know, officials are under, but that's what we're there to do. You know, it's what they pay us for, and it's the role that we've got to undertake.
When you first got into MMA, did you ever turn around and have bets with people saying, one day you'll see me in the UFC Octagon in Las Vegas, you know, on a massive card, you watch, bide my time, and have a bet with someone? And secondly, have you touched that bet yet?
No, because like I said, it wasn't. You know, when I was in MMA at the turn of millennium, you know, and training and competing, and I never. There was no path laid out before me. I didn't think about, you know, things just unfolded and went along naturally. And that's what makes it more pure for me. It's what makes it more acceptance. You know, accepted for me is that I grew into this role. I didn't have anyone, and there was no one in the UK to look. Okay, of course, you got Big John, you know, John McCarthy, he's still at the top of his game. You know, I've got to make that point. I have, you know, the utmost respect for, you know, for that guy. Is you look at his refereeing in 189 with Lawler and
Rory. Oh.
McDonald, still at the top of his game. John was the forefather of the referees, but I didn't have that in the UK. I didn't have it in Europe, so I forged my own path and done my own thing, and that's what makes it more fulfilling for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've definitely taken on this role of, like you say, a referee, but you're not just a referee. Like you say, you do seminars to help people improve just on the whole for the UK MMA scene. But you've also, as well, you're a busy boy in a sense of you do, like you said, mentioned before, the IMMAF, you've got the Safe MMA as well. Can you just elaborate to people at home, because they might not know what this goings on is with all these. Can you explain what it is and how you got into these?
Yeah, well, the IMMAF, IMMAF, is the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation, and essentially it's like, think of it as like the FIFA of mixed martial arts, and then we go around trying to get as many member countries. Forgive me, I'm not sure. I think it's over 60 countries now. We have the World Championships, the World. It's basically to do with, the longevity of this sport, the forward thinking of this sport, the amateurs of this sport. That's the grassroots, the foundation, and where things need to be. And having a central governing body with, and any other country can apply to affiliate to the IMMAF, much as we did in the UK. I was a board member. I still am a board member of the UK MMA Federation. I look after the regulatory subcommittee. I'm on the technical committee of the IMMAF. I was original founder with Safe MMA, and like you said, all of these things. I've moved in them circles for a long time. To try and bring together, the uniformity and the identity of this sport, and at the same time trying to raise the standard of, not just for officials, but obviously being a former competitor and a coach and a practitioner, it's everything, I'm looking at the sport as a whole, not just selfishly through the eyes of what I want or the role that I'm doing at the moment. I can't divorce myself from this sport, I'm too involved with all of its facets, to be honest. But yeah, the federation is, it's growing from strength to strength. We just had like I said, we had the second World Amateur Championships in Fight Week in July in Vegas. Member countries are growing all the time. I'm actually now carrying out international training courses for each of the member countries to send their, best recruits, if you like, their best officials. I've got one coming up in September in the Czech Republic, and again, that's to do with getting, a standard, a progression, a pathway, and a recognised qualification for referees in every single member country of the IMMAF.
See, that is, for us, quite exciting,
Bit of a mouthful that was.
That's great to hear, because
You've got to have a minimum standard, haven't you?
Yeah, so that I think it benefits not just the referees, officials, it benefits the fighters, because they're going in to a great standard of refereeing, not in the home nation. So if they were to go from, say, Czech Republic, and they suddenly get a chance to go and fight on a promotion elsewhere, a bigger promotion, they'll be used to that same high level of standard of refereeing. And I think that's what the sport needs anyway for a start, just officiated as well to be of a higher level. And what I like, you had, like you said, we just had this second year at the Fight Week. I think that's a great idea for the amateurs to be at the Fight Week, where there's a lot of people there. It gets them used to the big crowds. They can enjoy the whole week there, the atmosphere. And I think I think John Maguire was the head coach for them this year, was it?
Yeah, John was out there. John and Matt Thorpe. We had a great week out there, and obviously the UK team they've done quite well. But like I said, the amateur side of this is again with people that in reality haven't got a fucking clue. I'm not going to dress it up any other way. I've been fighting the good fight in the UK for a long time about this scene and this direction and what people should be doing. Amateur foundations are critical for this sport, especially now when things are progressing all the time. Evolution, people are getting better, standards, coaching, gyms, trainers, everything is starting to raise the bar, year on year. And amateurs so many times you see. But the guy, there was a guy from America. I think his name was Jesse Torres. He's a flyweight, and he won his category this July for the second year running. As an amateur, I think he's 26-1. Okay, now you get guys in this country, don't even start me off about getting 4 or 5 fights and I want to go pro. What do you mean you want to go pro? Come on, this is where we have to take the leaf out of boxing's mould with Stella. You know, you got amateur fighters, you got amateur boxers with fights running into the hundreds.
Yeah.
Running into the hundreds, and this is where the IMMAF come in and help to give good foundation, progressional pathways for not just officials, for fighters, for coaches, etc. And there's a big crossover appeal into look at judo, okay? Life after judo, shall we say. You could have a guy who spent his entire life at judo and then hangs up his gi at age 30. What does he do before that? Maybe he coaches, maybe he rests. But not now. Now there's mixed martial arts. And people are starting to recognise that.
Yeah.
And are starting to understand that there is life after traditional martial arts too.
Yeah, there is, certainly, absolutely. I agree with the fact that the amateur scene is starting to grow, and I like the fact that it's quite accessible in the UK for, especially for guys to get on amateur. Promotions will always accept amateurs because it's, you know, they don't have to pay them and they can fight regular as well. So guys who have like 4 amateur bouts, they can get easily in a year, if they wanted, they could easily accumulate nearly 20 bouts if they wanted to, if they were fit enough and healthy enough. There's that many events on with that many amateur shows on. It's easily accessible for them to get a lot of experience in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, there is some good platforms for amateurs in the UK. And, you know, I used to do back in the day, I'm one of the first guys, in fact, I don't know I think I was the first guy to put on a completely, it was called AMA, funny enough, for amateur, and it was solely for amateur fighters to give them the platform and the procedure to make sure everything was correct, etc., etc. You know, to be able to and push down into them the importance of having an amateur career, not jumping the gun. You know, it's definitely over, you know, quality over quantity, shall we say.
Yeah.
You know, because you can get guys at 10, 15 and 0 in 12 months, and you look at the people who have gone through in those fights and you put them all together, you know, they're not worth pretty much. But if you get people, you know, having a good pathway, a progressional pathway to be able to take their time, you should be spending, it's not months as an amateur, you should be spending years as an amateur. Years.
Yeah,
I was going to say the amateur. I was going to say the amateur rules have changed so much over the last 5 to 7 years. I mean, you've had all sorts of.
It has been a bit of a cloud because there's no set way of having it. Because some promotions call it amateur, some call it semi-pro, then some have different.
Don't say that word.
I know.
You could basically pick a promotion that would suit you.
Yeah, it is. So, it's a bit weird because, like I say, some call it different ways, and then there's some slight different rulings on how they do on their promotion. I don't mind in a sense of trying to make it a niche market in them for them, but I think, for example, if you had like a that's it. It's amateur is 3-minute rounds, 3-minute rounds. Sorry. That's it. You wear this. You've got you can't do this submission. You can't do this.
And everyone agrees to it. Yeah.
And it just makes it, and everyone can do the same then, and everyone can train right.
Because you could basically turn around and say, yeah, I've got shit striking, but if I fight for that promotion there as an amateur, there's no headshots or whatever. You know. And
that's right.
Yeah. I know.
Them days are gone. And this is where, sorry to jump in.
No, it's okay.
This is where the federations will start to, you'll start to see them implement it, you know?
Yeah.
Have a standard unified, like in you know, on the seminars I give, I'm like, you know, my head goes round and round now, because I've been saying it for so many years. In other sports, you know, I can come from China, I can come from Canada, I can come from Argentina, I can come from Finland. If I turn on the TV and watch an amateur boxing match, I don't need to speak the language. I don't need to but I know the difference.
Yeah.
Same with rugby. Same with football. Mixed martial arts, a million miles away.
Yeah.
A million miles away. But with the progression of the IMMAF, with the progression of the member countries having a recognised regulatory body, we're starting to push down that mould that in 5, 10, 15 years, all MMA will look the same. You will have amateur competitors and professional competitors.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And from an aesthetic point of view, as soon as you turn on the TV or you look from a distance and you'll look at amateurs, he's got shin pads, he's got a bit, you'll know straight away, you know?
Yeah.
It needs to be, I think it needs to happen, but like you said, 10, 15 years, because the sport is still
Oh, it's still finding its feet,
it's
isn't it?
still finding its feet, so I think people need to, sometimes people get a bit carried away with expecting something to happen overnight. They do need to understand that the sport is still in its infancy, and we're only getting
Absolutely
grounded.
correct.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what year it is.
Let's not forget the boxing actually started with a chalk line on the floor, you know.
Yeah.
And you towed the line, and you know, it didn't always. It hasn't always been the way it is.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
go back 100 years, a little bit different, you know.
It has evolved, and that's, I think,
Yeah.
like you say, you're starting to evolve with getting this federation. I am so I'm so in favour of this.
So, talking about that, you know, you were saying about like a base level for refereeing, right? I'm going to say something. You don't have to agree with me, but when I throw a name out there, right,
I can read your mind.
when I watch Mazagati referee, right? Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah,
Was that interference or was that laughter? Now he's still
I knew you were going to say that.
he's still refereeing major fights, like he did the Paul Harris fight, and he found himself in the wrong place at the very wrong time, shall we say?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
but that's not his only mistake. He does mistake after mistake. Now, I was at a Lion Fights in Vegas the day before the 187, and he was refereeing there, and he was making loads of mistakes that night as well. Like, really, like, obvious mistakes. And I was like, really? You know, how does he still find himself on major cards at major fights that are highly important and, like...
Effective.
I mean, like, with a referee, I know your main job is to keep people safe and keep people within the rules, etc. But a bad decision can really alter a guy's career.
Of course it can.
Yeah,
You're dealing at that level. You're not dealing with a young amateur fighter who's going to college on Monday or going to work on Monday, or making £5 a ticket. At the highest level, you're dealing with entire careers and livelihoods and life-changing sums of money. Let's be honest. That's what you're dealing with. And that's what I say about the, understanding and having that pressure. And I know that, there's kind of like an unwritten code for referees. We don't throw anyone under the bus. We see mistakes, but the problem was with Steve is he wasn't in the wrong place. He was in the right place. He couldn't be in a better place. The problem is when that submission was on, he should have been attacking the offending arm. That's what I do with that. But let's not make no bones about it. We can't use it as an excuse for Paul Harris, because this guy's just the guy's done it for far too many times now, and it's got to the point where it's just look, the guy either has a mental problem, a mental issue, something he can't process, and if that's the case, he's a danger to himself, and he's more importantly a danger to his opponents. So having him removed from that environment, and he's done it in ADCC as well, not just MMA.
Yes, he has.
It is a danger, and trying to stick up for Steve at the moment is that, look, when we say stop, a fighter should stop. Obviously, in the realities of things, when the moment's flowing, and particularly if a guy's running after a guy and he knocks him out or TKO, we have to get physical, we have to get involved, But it's a difficult one, because it's like, I do feel so bad. Like, you look at it and I'm like, you look at Twitter the next day and it blows up about Paul Harris, and then you look and Steve was a rep, and I was like, oh fuck, I feel, but not again, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thinking, what are they going to say to the guy now? And I don't understand it, you know. Refereeing is it's a thankless task at times, and it's a difficult task, but you have to be. It comes back to what I was saying about being in that, knowing what to do. When a guy like, it's like, look, if you remember back a few years ago, I refereed the fight between Paul Harris and Hector Lombard in Australia. Now, when they were put together, I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
You know, you think, don't tell me this fight is not going to pass without incident.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, it did. It did because Hector won by, I think, KO or TKO. Yeah. It didn't even get going. But even I know in my mind that I'm in an extra heightened sense of awareness because I know that if Paul Harris would have got a submission on, I'm not, and Lombard did tap, I'd be physically dragging him off, because if I didn't, he probably wouldn't have let go, and then all hell would have broke loose.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't understand what Steve's mental reasoning was, because when a fighter's got hold of a submission, you know, and you're tapping him to let go, that's not the protocol. I'm pulling the offending arm away. That's my first port of call. And it probably would have looked better on Paul Harris too, you know? It probably would have looked better, but this guy's got a definite, let's make no bones about it, let's take the referee out for the moment.
Yeah.
This guy has a definite problem, and he has no business. He could, look, it's getting to the point now, well, what are we going to wait for him to do? Snap something?
Yeah.
He could end someone's career. And he's got serious issues, and if he can't fix them, don't fight.
No, absolutely.
Well, what I was thinking is once the referee goes in there to stop the fight, if he's carrying on, surely now he's assaulting his opponent.
Yeah, look, I'll tell you now, if it was me, I would have disqualified him.
Yes, I was going to say that, yes.
Yeah.
I would have disqualified him. But if it was me, like I said, how I would have stopped the fight, I would have been grabbing his... So probably wouldn't have... Because when I saw... when I would have saw Shields tap, I'd have been onto that arm, pulling it up.
Yeah.
And if he'd have let go when I grabbed it, there'd be no more said about it.
Yes.
Because I'd be saying stop and pulling away, and it all happened at the same time, done.
Yeah.
If I'm trying to pull him and he's resisting, then we're in a whole different ball game, you know? I think what the problem is the fact that Steve was tapping him like on the shoulder and the top of the arm, saying stop, instead of attacking his attacking arm. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was. He was just tapping his arm like 6 or 7 times. But let's take away this scenario. Let's do a hypothetical. Say you're at an event and one of the other referees makes a mistake. What, from your side of things, how do you as like a referee fight on the same card as him? Do you speak to them afterwards about like support? Do you say, "Oh, mate, did you not see that?" Or what is it like that you do? Obviously off camera when you was at the back. Do you talk about it afterwards? How's it? Many times. You know, I've seen things with like I can count on my one hand how many people's opinion I actually take and value about what I do. Seriously, one hand. Well, it's me and Mike, that's 2. So there's 3 more people then.
The missus, the mother-in-law.
How many people's opinion I actually, value, and some are referees, some aren't. Or one person is just in a higher place, and like I said, yes, I do go to referees, and most of the time, they're I mean, even McCarthy, very humbling for me. Even like John and Herb, like we all say the same thing. If we listen to each other, we all listen to each other, and we all take each other's decisions and critiques, as in on that one hand.
Yeah.
And there's another person whose opinion I value very, very highly, and it means the world to me. But as for the others, I will openly engage and talk to them, and I'll try and help them back. But there have been many times where you try and tell people, and they think they know it all, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm trying to help you here, mate. I'm trying to tell you that what you did was wrong, and you know, and look, it comes back to what we were saying right at the start of the conversation. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah.
You've got to make calls. People aren't going to agree with you, but all I ask for is that you remain factually correct.
Yes.
When you're in the realms of perception and misconception and misunderstanding, we're not on the same page anymore, you know?
No.
And if you're calling out something that's not actually within the unified rules, then you're in a different plane to me, and the conversation stops.
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that known as doing a Mazagay?
No.
You've just done a Mazagay. So, well, I'm not going to be a referee, am I?
No.
I'm safe.
No, I was curious because obviously I always wondered, maybe, like, for example, let's say hypothetically you made a boo-boo on a card in a fight. Like, would, like, for example, would they message you if they even weren't on the same card to maybe not address it but talk to you about it or something, saying, you know, I just was curious about how it was looked at.
Oh, Jesus, mate, I get, and that's the problem, like, you know, I get hundreds of requests all the time. Mark, can you look at this fight? I'm like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
You know, because what happens then invariably a lot of the time is people will look at it and then go, Marc Goddard said, like, you know, and they'll use my, that sounded like a gig, you know, they'll use my name or authority to go, well, Marc Goddard looked at this and he said he shouldn't have done it. And I'm like, hang on a minute, bro. I wasn't even at the event. It's in a country I wasn't even in at the time. I've got nothing to do with it. Don't use my name, and that's why it's hard for me sometimes to give. That's why I just, you know, a lot of the time I refuse to give an opinion.
Yes.
Unless I'm directly involved.
Plus, it must be so much easier to decide from an armchair.
Of course it is.
You know,
keyboard warrior.
Without 20,000 people around you.
How many Premiership football managers do you hear in the pub on a Saturday night?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they can look after it. They can manage the team better than anyone. Yeah, I know.
Of course they can.
I worked at doors. Yeah, me and Mike actually both worked at doors, didn't we?
Yeah.
We worked at doors for years, so I was used to watching on. Like, I'd work at doors on a Saturday afternoon.
Everyone's an expert.
Half time comes and they're coming out how they'd make the team better. And I just sit there. I don't do football, but I just sit there shaking my head at them. It just bewilders you.
It's a bit like I used to be a crane operator, and best advice I ever got given. Before he sent me out on my first job, he says, "Look," he says, "when you get on site, he says, just remember," he says, "everyone on that site thinks they're a crane operator." He says, "Everyone is the best crane operator there is, and it must be the same refereeing. Everyone thinks they know refereeing more than anyone else in the world. You know, everyone's an expert."
Of course they do.
You know.
And judges, you know, they know how to judge a fight when they don't even know what the criteria is.
Well, we're gonna speak to a judge in a bit. Actually, we've got a judge coming on as well, so that's one of the more touchiest subjects. I did post.
It's a make friends night.
I know. I know. It's a weird one. I refereed a judge. I did post saying, "Have you got any questions?" And I'm thinking, why did I put that out there? Because you could just imagine.
What judge? What judge have you got coming on?
We have got Ben Cartledge coming on.
Okay.
Yeah. So, good egg. So it was just curious. It's just one of that. We haven't got, like, you know, one of the ones from the States who made decisions or anything. But yeah, it was one of them ones where I thought, I put that out there and I thought, I'm worried about what questions will come back. But there's, you know, some people just don't get the judging and how it works. But we have had some questions come in for you.
Sure.
It's just simple ones that we've been asked if we can ask you. So I imagine Brian Stan and Vanderlei Silva is one of them. But standout moments from refereeing.
Too many. I mean, yeah, the Brian's like fight of the year candidates like Stan and you know, world titles like Frankie Edgar and Ben Henderson in Japan, and I don't know who else was there. Oh, Carlos Condit and Johnny Hendricks. That was in fights like that. And the best thing is, if people don't know I'm the ref, because that's when you know. Again, that's when you know you've done a good job.
Yeah.
Referees play their part in fight of the year, but if I was to pick one right now, it would have to be Aldo and Mendez too.
Oh, my word.
In Rio. Yeah, there you go. You know, another one. It's fights like that are what, you know, it separates. You know, they're just in a different place. You know.
Yeah. That is
trying to explain the atmosphere. atmosphere for that fight, it was incredible.
Now, you've refereed in quite a few places in the world, but one of the questions was, any places you would like to go and ref?
Yeah. South Africa. I've been in talks with guys back and forth for a while there.
Yeah.
South Africa is one place, and you know, that's probably it.
Yeah.
What about
That's
New
probably
York?
it.
Madison Square Garden?
Oh well, so, yeah. I mean, yeah, if I'm saying going back to America, of course, that was magical. You know, maybe going into the States a bit more, Argentina, maybe somewhere in South America. But having, been to the spiritual home, like Japan and Brazil and those places, and obviously, I think, off the cuff at the moment, South Africa, because I've never been to that. It's one of the countries I've never been to, and I've always had an interest, so we shall see.
Is that with EFA, is it?
EFC.
EFC, sorry.
Yeah, I spoke to some of their guys before, guys that wanted me to come down and do a seminar for them and then stay on, but like I said, I'm not sure how they operate and what they're doing, but I know the UFC are eyeing, they've always had South Africa on their radar as well, so hopefully one day it will happen, and Russia would be another one, sorry.
Yeah.
Of course, you want to keep your hotel quiet where you're staying. You don't want any knocks on the door afterwards, do you?
Okay, another question is here. We've got, how do you see the UK MMA progressing in the next 12 months? I know it's a bit of a tough one, but how do you see it? Because obviously you're around
probably in the next 12 months, probably no different from where it is at the moment. Look, we've definitely hit the peak of ridiculousness, in the UK in terms of like every man and his dog wants to be a cage fighter in inverted commas.
Yeah.
And I think that peak is probably about 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago, it's peaked, and now we're starting to level out. Obviously with the UK and IMMAF trying to gain more traction and it's obviously there was an almighty loss with Cage Warriors, which was a shame, but BAMMA are coming through tremendously, and always been another favourite of mine, and what a promotion to work for, for fighters and officials too. Maybe some smaller shows. The difference is for me is that if smaller shows or more regional shows want to, if they're serious about what they want to do, then they'll start adopting, they'll start to streamline. They'll be looking to put fighters through safe MMA. They'll be looking to get them blood tested. They'll be looking to stay through unified rules, etc., etc. That's where those are small changes but significant changes. So I don't think the landscape is going to change too much in 12 months, to be honest with you. Maybe not.
Well, hopefully Cage Warriors, Graham Boland, hopefully it's all coming back.
There's whispers.
And hopefully it comes back to, maybe whispers we've heard of when it could be coming back, but we don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, I hope so. Huge void. Now, next one. It kind of already is there. Last question. They said, will we get a governing body? I suppose the closest we have to that is, IMMAF. It's the closest we have to, but they can't obviously. There's limitations on what they can and can't put in place on countries. For example, you've got commissions in America, etc. I suppose what they're probably suggesting is something that, like, somewhere that we can put regulations in that would be worldwide throughout. I imagine that's what they're asking.
Well, I've lost my train of thought there. I was distracted for a minute. Where were we?
Yeah, a governing body that...
Yeah, the governing body in the UK. Look, it is happening, and I've said that for a while now, but it is happening, people will keep hearing about UK MMA. There's, without sounding cliched about the sheer amount of work that's gone on behind the scenes for a number of years now. For people, myself and other like-minded people who are in it for the right reasons and trying to make a positive change to this sport, it is it is going to happen, but again, it's going back to being patient, small, consistent steps. But the way we are in the UK, it's not mandatory.
No.
The problem, when you go to other countries in Europe, like Sweden, for instance, or France, where it's banned, or in the States, where you've got state commissions and regulatory control, you'll have authorities there. In the UK, the way it is at the moment, you can do what you want when you want. But it's just about being able to offer that separation, so that, look at unlicensed boxing versus the BBBFC. Look, the BBBFC is a private limited company. Yes, it's recognised by Sport England, etc., but that's where it stops.
Yeah.
You've got 1,001 unlicensed. You've got bare knuckle boxing going on up and down the country. That's how open and free the UK is, and I think that's a problem in itself. It's good in one way because it's not like a dictatorial state and people can do what they want. But in the combat sports world, we've got to try and clamp down a bit and
yes,
be patient. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I knew of rumblings about a governing body. Obviously, the question coming in, so I wanted to put it out there so it gets answered. I think because there's nothing being spoke of it publicly about it, I think that's probably why a lot of people still ask about this. Is it coming in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, and we have been a bit quiet mostly because, like I said, so much has been going on behind the scenes. I can't. There's full-time members. There's people full-time employed with this now. That's how serious it is. And getting ready for, doing shadow sanctioning, talking to the UFC, getting representation ready for Sport England, obviously the IMMAF, etc. And like we said, look, let's not lose sight of the fact, you said it yourself, in comparison, MMA, it's a baby sport.
Yeah.
A baby sport. So the leaps and bounds that we're trying to make in such a short, if you look at that pro rata, it's unprecedented what we're doing. And more to the point, we're doing it in an unregulated state, if you know what I mean. Because in the UK, you've got a choice.
Yeah.
If we have to click your fingers and the governing body's in tomorrow, does that mean that every show in the land then becomes regulated? Clearly not. Maybe one, maybe two.
Yeah, it's one of them ones where, like you say, it takes time, baby steps, and we'll get there and everything will work. I think it's nice that people are questioning and asking, because it shows that they want it as well. It's not like people are trying to shy away from it. I think people should embrace it, and it will they'll see that it'll unify and kind of unite everyone. Because the MMA community, I've found, it's not. I think it's pretty tight. I think it's pretty close. It's pretty good. Yeah. There's obviously,
it's like a family.
It's like,
yeah. There's a lot getting on.
Yeah.
There's a few cousins that don't see eye to eye, but
exactly.
generally, everyone wants the same thing, pretty much.
Yeah.
They do, but yes and no. Everybody's screen standards, but when the reality bites, they. You see people take a different light. Then, everyone can. It's like you're saying, people can talk a good game. And then you're like, hang on a minute, if that's okay, why are you representing ABC, or why are you doing this? Change comes from within. If you want to do something, you're going to do it, And yeah, I mean, look, the right people, if you're doing this for the right reasons, then the good will out. That's all I can say, Yeah. I mean, I've got to keep the faith. I want to keep the faith. With me and myself and other people have worked too hard at trying to get, the right thing done all the time. And like I said, we're up against some, pretty slippy slopes because of the perception of MMA, because of the way things are, in the United Kingdom, and the shortage of promotions that could actually willingly step up and comply with what we do.
Yeah.
Not many.
No.
Not many at all.
No, that's why. We get you on. That's why we get you on here, because we want people. We just don't get two guys that are going to fight every weekend on, that stand there and just say, I'm going to smash his face in, and I want to kick him and knock him out. Because we want people to get an idea of what MMA is outside of the fight, outside of those 15-minute wars that you see on. We want people to understand what's going on in the background, how it's progressing, how it's not as it's perceived as a blood sport, is it back in the day, cockfighting, so to speak. We want people to see that we are working towards having a very regulated, regimented kind of sport where it's looked in a professional.
I mean, said that Campbell McLaren loves the cockfighting term, doesn't he?
I know, but we want that kind of put in, and we want this happening here. This is why we've got you on, so people can see and hear this, and now they can get an idea now what's going on for the future. And I think it's great that you've let us know as well. You've helped me and Mike, with a bit more information as well. It's great to hear it and know what's coming in the future.
Yeah.
We're working hard at it.
That's good.
Nice easy one for you, Mark. October the 24th, UFC returns to Dublin. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, that'll be an awesome event. The last event we had there was off the Richter scale. With obviously it was a good night for the Irish, to say the least. Yeah. The crowd and everything, the volume and obviously, yeah. I mean, crazy. It'll be no doubt it will be another record sellout in record time as well.
Oh, we will. Now, Mark, you've doing seminars and stuff. You try to help the sport in many ways. Can you let people know if there is any seminars you're doing, in the next few months, etc., or how people can contact you to get on to these kind of seminars, or any way they can maybe learn more about maybe looking into becoming a ref, etc., things like that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got some international seminars coming up. I'm in the Middle East in August, doing a seminar over there for a promotion I work with and would-be officials. Then I've got an international training course in the Czech Republic in middle of September. That's IMMAF regulated training course for international referees. But in the United Kingdom, obviously, we've started. If people go onto the Facebook page of the UK IMMAF, and you'll see that the referee courses are already underway. I believe there's been 2 weekend courses, and the judging one, I'm sure Ben will fill you in more, because Ben was one of the guys I originally looked after, and now he is giving the course for judges. I'm tied up with doing the IMMAF, and then other members of the regulatory body will do the UK side of it. So if you wanted to look to, I mean, I'm still going to do like general awareness seminars. I still do mixed martial arts referee and judges seminars, which is basically an A to Z of the sport. Anyone that's ever been on it, ask Ben about it. He'll tell you what my seminar's all about. But if you're serious about, lending yourself and getting into, start the progression of being an official, go to the UK IMMAF website or look onto the Facebook at UK IMMAF page and look for details of upcoming courses for refs and judges.
Yeah, because we just don't need fighters, we need referees, you need judges, you need the whole package to get the whole sport. So, if you are interested, it's something that you think you could do or thinking you're passionate about, do get in contact, do jump on now, and they will help you with every step of the way. They'll give you great support. And Mark, we want to say...
I was going to say, there are places there, so Steve Bazagay, if you're listening, get yourself on one.
But no,
I'm sure Mark will do you a good rate.
Yeah.
I know you've been on a few courses before, but you will pass one day.
Mark, on a serious note, we want to say thank you for coming on, speaking to us, letting all this information out to people at home and ourselves, and thank you for doing a great job that you've done so far in not just in refereeing the great fights that you've been part of, but just what you're doing on the outside of the cage. This work that you've done, it's insane how much work
it's promoting the game, isn't it, in a good way.
It's a beautiful thing that there's people with the passion that you have and you're putting it into it, because we need people like you, and we want to say thank you really for what you're doing.
I appreciate it. When I hear that means a lot, and look, I really appreciate that. And look, I'm married to this game, MMA through and through, and I've been for more years than I care to remember. I can't help it. I'll forever fight the good fight and just keep doing it with like-minded people, and we'll get there one day. It's going all right.
and we'll happily try and promote anything we can on our Twitter page and our Facebook page. You know, in regards to any if seminars and stuff, we'll try and share it on our walls and stuff for people to maybe get in contact with UK MMA AF. And you know, it's all needed in the sport. Mark, we're going to let you go, so we're going to get in contact with, give Ben a shout as well and give him a call. And like I said, thank you for giving up some of your time tonight for us. It's been great having you on. Really enjoyed it. And to be fair, we could probably actually talk to you for another hour about, you know, what's the ongoing.
Plugging you for info.
There's a lot of questions about refereeing and stuff there, but we, you know what, we can get you on again in the future when more things have happened and talk a bit more.
Let's do it again sometime. It's been a good chat.
Thank you very much, Mark. It's been great. Thanks, buddy.